Welcome back, everybody. We have an exciting guest. Adria Tennor is here to talk about her new show, Fetish, which is available on YouTube, Vimeo, and a bunch of other platforms, and we'll link it right below the video, so go please look in the descriptions. We're going to talk about all of the appearances that you've seen her in before, her one-woman show or shows, because you've done 3 from what I gather, and the fact that we're both from Detroit. So we're going to start right there after I welcome Adria to the program.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. So I know that you at least did some part of your growing up in Detroit, in the suburbs of Detroit. Which suburb? I went to Berkeley High School in Southfield.
Oh my goodness. So my grandmother lived in Southfield. I spent the first 4 years of my life in Birmingham, which is a suburb of Detroit as well, very close to Southfield. And then we moved to Bloomfield Hills.
Yeah, I have family in Bloomfield Hills and West Bloomfield, in Novi until they moved in Farmington Hills, I think. And then I spent most of my time when I was in high school in Southfield and Oak Park. So.
Nice. I spent a lot of time in Southfield. I was very close to my grandma. She was an idol of mine.
That's nice. Yeah, my grandparents were there as well. We still have, I think, half of our family is in Detroit, so we visit when we can. But lately,
nice.
Yeah, so hopefully sometime soon again. Do you hear from people, again, the outsiders, the people who did not grow up in Detroit or didn't spend time, in the area? I keep on hearing that, oh, Detroit. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Detroit is a beautiful, beautiful place with incredible, suburbs. It's very green. There's, beautiful, beautiful places. Do you get that same hate from people who don't know?
Yeah, I mean, I think Michigan in general has a bad rap, and but I enjoyed my time there. I felt it was a very soulful place. I mean, the Motor City music, and that's that was a big influence on my life. Is my grandfather was a song plugger for Irving Berlin, and my grandmother loved to sing even though she couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. So I feel like Detroit, and it's beautiful. There's so much. There's the lakes, and you're right. Like the summers there are incredible.
Yeah, I'm in Chicago now, so I'm not that far away. But yes, Michigan will always have a place in my heart. So anybody in our audience that's from Detroit or from Michigan, hello. We love you. We love the city and the state. Okay, moving on. So you have a show that's now streaming. I watched the first few episodes, which definitely got me hooked. I want to watch more.
Okay.
Very, very interesting concept. I know that you and a kind of a co-creator decided to put it together. What was the impetus for that particular show?
So I think it's really important for actors in their career as soon as possible to figure out what their archetype is. And it was tricky for me because I look sort of suburban, like the normal girl next door, but there's also this wacky side to me that's sort of discoverable. So I got cast in a pilot by Michelle and Robert King, who then went on to do The Good Wife and The Good Fight. This particular pilot didn't go, but the character I played was a suburban mom who was dealing porn out of her living room to pay for her kids' college, to raise money for their fund. And I just felt like, oh, okay, this is my role. This is my role. This normal looking woman who's doing this insane, sexy stuff. So it was a while until I met Kristen. Kristen Tracy is my co-creator and partner, writing partner. And I just really loved Kristen. She was super funny. We met at what we call screenplay camp, which is we both won a fellowship to Cinestory, which is the foundation that honors excellence in screenwriting. So we met there, and I pitched her this idea. I wanted to write it with someone. This woman dealing porn out of her living room. But then when we realized at this point, a lot of time had passed and porn streamed online. So no one's dealing that in their living room. So we had to come up with something else. So Kristen had heard this story about a woman who was abducted by a guy who just wanted her to read to him, and then he let her go free. So that was kind of how we spun this. We took the character of this normal suburban mom and put her in this crazy situation. That's how we came up with it. So then she becomes a fetish fulfiller.
Yeah.
Sort of like Weeds, only with fetishism, fetish fulfillment.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. I was definitely surprised by the howling and the mask, but it was it was a unique way to kind of get somebody into the show. So it definitely grabbed my attention. Very cool. And I know that again, how many episodes are out already? Because I know I've watched 2, and I thought a few more were available.
There's 6 total, and we just dropped the 6th one. So if someone wants to binge, the season 1 is dropped, so you can do that.
Nice. And is there a season 2 forthcoming?
Well, I hope so. I don't know what's going to happen, with COVID and shooting, and just not sure how that's going to go.
Understood.
We're hoping that someone will love it enough to want to invest and make a season 2 with us.
Sure.
Because it was something that we produced ourselves.
Yeah, and how was the reception to it so far, from the people who have watched it? I know I enjoyed it.
I think people really like it. I think people think it's really weird. We thought that the story was very aimed at women, this sort of normal, like I said, suburban mom. Yeah. But the viewership has been mostly men, so that's really interesting. That might affect how we write season 2. But yeah, I mean, I think people think it's good. I think it's funny. It's not like doing live theater where you're standing on stage and you get the immediate response. But I mean, it's huge on Facebook for whatever reason. People are watching it there. Yeah, and I think it's really exciting, with this kind of thing. It's not television, so it's not aired and then it's gone. It's out there, so it can build and grow. And so I feel like we're just starting out, even though all the episodes have dropped. I feel like it's just beginning.
I think so too. Yeah, because again, there's 5,000 hours of video dropped on YouTube every minute. So it takes a little bit of time to find the right audience. I know that with my own show, so I certainly
right.
Yeah, certainly empathize. But I like it, and it's unique. What I found is that there were times when I was laughing. There were times when I was trying to figure out, okay, was that out of no, that was in sequence. So there were times that made me think as an audience member. There were times that were just unexpected. So it has a lot of great elements which I enjoyed.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.
You're very welcome. And who was directing? Were you directing it as well?
I was directing it as well. Yeah. That's difficult to be in something and to direct yourself. I'm not the biggest fan of it, actually. I feel like I learn a lot as a director and am able to do a better job from looking at things from the outside. When I was in college, we did a production of Three Sisters, and we had 2 sets of sisters, which was really valuable, I thought. I know a lot of actors don't like to watch someone else, do a role that they're going to do, but I feel like I have my own stamp on it. I know what I'm going to do, and I learned a lot from watching from the outside. So that was challenging. I had a monitor. I had people around me that I trusted. Kristen, my partner, was there, so that was great. I feel like, I feel like I did a good job. I feel like I understood the story. Kristen and I understood the story better than somebody else who was going to come in and who would come in and direct it. So, I mean, it's not easy, but I think it was good. I think I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, and that's where I was going with this question, because it's not a easy thing to do, because we as actors, we have a certain feeling of, did we get it correctly? Does it feel right? And then somebody looking through a monitor or from an outside has a completely different perspective. I remember in one of your interviews, you were sharing that when you were putting together your one-woman play, you felt like you did something correctly, and then you had to be directive of saying no, you have to move and you have to expand it. There's more to it. So we need kind of both of those perspectives to make it right. And when you're one doing both, it's a very unique aspect that you have to deal with.
Yeah, and I think that's what I love about film and television. It's so collaborative. You're not just in a vacuum. There's a team of people, and they're all making it better. And they all have a different perspective. And I think that's what makes film and television so spectacular.
Yeah. The other thing that I thought about, again, you being the director, you being the co-creator of the project, and then you being the actor in the project, and there is certain level of during different takes, there's certain level of improv that's going on, and an actor may feel in a scene like they should be doing this, and they may try something else in a different scene. So you're playing somebody, Paula is captured. So you're playing somebody who's captured by a gentleman in a particular suit. We'll let other people discover it. And
Okay.
then does that restrict the actor in a scene with you, because he knows that not only are you an actor, but you're also the director and you're also the creator of the show. So there are things. Does that stifle any of the natural instincts, or do you have kind of a, hey, I'm an actress, you can do what feels right at that moment?
I mean, I hope that people felt encouraged to do whatever they wanted to do. I think it's tricky with comedy because there is a rhythm, and the writing is very important in that. But I feel like the actors that I had were amazing and could stay in that script and in the writing of it, and then add their stuff, which I think they all did. I cast all of those people. Kristen and I cast all of those people. Most of them were, I think all of them were friends of mine and people that I respected and wanted to work with. So hopefully that gave them also license. And the person who plays the abductor, I can't imagine anyone thinking that his performance was reined in or restrained whatsoever. So I think, we should go and talk to these actors. I think they felt pretty free to try stuff. I mean, we had, we were shooting on digital, we weren't shooting film, so it was fine to like try stuff. We were moving pretty quickly because I didn't have a lot of time, but I don't know, sometimes I feel like it's better when you don't have a lot of time because you're not in your head about stuff. You're not thinking like about these things. You're just doing it. So I don't know. You tell me, how did it look? Did it look like the actors felt free? And
it's too early for me to have any judgment because I've only seen the first 2 episodes. So I want to see more in order for me to have a better educated opinion.
okay.
In the first few episodes, I didn't notice anything like that, but just thinking outside and putting myself in a position where I'm acting across from somebody, and I know that they're also my boss as well as the actor. I was starting to wonder how I would feel, and that's probably where I went with that question.
Well, I think that because I was wearing a fur bikini, that there was a little bit of the boss lady, it made me a little more vulnerable. So I don't think I was quite as scary.
The part that I found funny is I'm not a complete pervert aspect, is that he was the one that put the fur bikini on you in the first place, and then he says, well, I'm not a complete pervert, you can go change, I'll be in another room. Well, there's some aspects to it that people should understand.
Yeah.
I found it. So I also find, and again, there's I'm dancing around this in my mind, but to me it's hilarious, so I'm just gonna go with it. When I heard about your first job, your first role in film or on the big screen, you were a 12-year-old boy dealing with porn. And then looking at looking at Fetish as the show later on, and looking at some of the other things that you have written and the one-woman play that you have done, kind of deal with the same type of aspects. So
Yeah.
that made me wonder if there is a correlation between the first jobs that we do in cinema to what will come back in our careers. And then I went back to my first job, which was in a gay movie smoking a cigarette. And I thought is that what I should be looking forward to as my career progresses? If you're kind of are the role model for where that's going. So it was just something that made me crack up, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is, and that was a very confusing way to begin my career.
Yeah.
To have my first role to be a 12-year-old boy. My agents then started to submit me for these bull-dyke lesbian roles, and I just thought, oh, I guess this is what I'm, I mean, okay. And then I realized, I'm me getting cast as a 12-year-old boy isn't the world saying that Adria is butch. It's the world saying that 12-year-old boys are gamine and feminine. And I was very I was gamine. I was 20. I was 22, and yeah, I was there was an androgynous quality to me. I'm just going to say that. So yeah, that was a confusing way to begin. And I think that the role that then finally spun me out of that was I got cast as Diane Keaton's. No, I auditioned to play Diane Keaton's daughter in The First Wives Club and got very close to playing that part. And they decided that I wasn't butch enough because the girl was supposed to be a lesbian. They wanted her to be a little butchy. So is it okay to say that? Is that okay to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with it.
Masculine, whatever. I don't mean it in any derogatory way at all. So they decided that I wasn't right for that part. I didn't come off that way I didn't come off masculine enough. And so instead they cast me as Diane Keaton as a young person. So I played her. And so then I feel like I kind of got to go back to playing women, which is really more I think, me. So, but I do think that that getting cast as a 12-year-old boy, so I was cast as a 12-year-old boy. And when you watch the movie, you are supposed to think I'm a 12-year-old boy, but you're also supposed to think, oh, there's something off about this 12-year or weird, or there's some strange thing. And the reason that Hal Hartley cast me in that part, so the scene is a 12-year-old boy talking to this gentleman who has amnesia, and he is a big porn producer, but he doesn't remember that. And he's wandering around with this porn magazine in his pocket, and he hands it to me. So, and we're sitting there talking about the women in the porn magazine, the naked women, and Hal felt like if my feminist friends see this movie and this scene and see these two guys talking about naked women, they're going to think I'm a jerk. But if I cast a woman and there's a female presence in the scene, it makes it interesting and artful. So that's why I was cast in that.
Yeah. It's interesting how, again, it's all about perceptions. I also find it a bit ironic that, after that role, going back to what you just mentioned, after that role, you were submitted for the butch roles, and then you lost to Amanda Peet because you weren't butch enough. So I thought that's pretty interesting.
Right.
Yeah. I know you've mentioned that again during the shoot of the First Wives Club, you didn't have a chance to interact with Diane, which I'm not sure if that would have been easy or very difficult when you're trying to play a younger version of her. But did you ever hear from her of what she thought of your performance?
I have run into her a couple times and said hello, and she's very sweet. I don't I don't know if those women in the First Wives Club were really fond of the idea of these, like, I don't, I don't, she didn't compliment my performance, but I feel like, what is she, I mean, like, that's a tough thing. I'm
Yeah.
playing her because, I'm playing her younger, so.
Yeah. Well, as long as again,
Her voice, they dubbed her voice over mine, so.
I'm sorry, they dubbed
It
her
was
voice over
her
yours.
voice. Yeah, so it was our performance, and then they put those actresses' voices. They dubbed in their voices so that the voices would sound the same.
Interesting. Well, listen, I've watched that movie many times. I haven't watched it for a little bit, so I'm definitely going back and rewatching it, and I'll make my own conclusions. But the fact that I didn't, in a way, notice anything that was off, I think that's all that we probably need to say is that if it felt right, then it was right. So, and I never thought about it, so it was great to learn that you were, the young Diane Keaton in that movie. And you've done a ton of roles. You've done a lot of commercials. I want to come back to all of that, but as I was scrolling through your IMDb profile, one of my favorite movies popped up, and I wanted to talk to you about your experience on it. You had a very memorable little role in You Don't Mess with the Zohan, which I thoroughly enjoyed and have watched, I don't know, at least 20 times, I think, since it came out.
Aw,
And I remember your scene really well.
thank you. Thank you. That
How did
was
that,
so fun.
yeah,
Adam
how did that come
Sandler,
about?
I I just went and auditioned.
Okay.
My agent got me an audition, and I went in and taped it with the casting director, and they booked me from the tape. Um, that was a lovely experience. He is a lovely person. He was also producing that, and so he would run off set after every single take and go talk to the director and watch it. Um, he was just super super generous, very, very complimentary, and I was part of that family for, I mean, I had this, day player role in this film, but I was sent gifts, and there was a Christmas party. He really treats his cast and his crew like it's like a company, and they all work together all the time. So I was included in that for a year, and that was super nice. It was
That's
really
great.
fun.
Yeah, I've loved them since SNL, and then over the years and seeing. When I go to the movies, there are a few things that I would be looking for. I would be looking for either a story that takes me away into another world, like Avatar. Avatar, kind of you're in that world, and it's an incredible experience, and you want to be that. Or I want to be in an environment where I am seeing the people on screen have fun, just genuinely enjoy being around each other and have fun. And in most of Adam Sandler's films, that's the feeling. And I could care less whether this is an Oscar, worthy type of performance. It's just fun. It's a group of guys getting together to have fun, and I come out of there feeling great, and I enjoy the experience. So I will always love it.
Yeah, he's lovely.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you had that type of an experience.
Oh, can I tell you a funny story about meeting him?
Please, yeah.
So I got the part, and I went to the soundstage where they were already shooting the movie,
Mhm.
and the costume designer, put me in my costume, and they said, okay, this is what you're gonna wear, cool. And then they said, well, Adam wants to say hello to you. So can you please go to the set? So I went, and he was working, and he stopped what he was doing, and he came over to me and introduced himself and said, thank you so much for doing this. And I said, oh, thank you, no problem. And then I walked to my car, which was quite a ways, and got in my car and looked in my rearview mirror, and I had a huge piece of steak right here in my tooth. So I met Adam Sandler, this big piece of dark meat in my teeth.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
It may answer one of my questions that I was going to ask you down the road, which is what's the weirdest or most embarrassing thing that happened to you on a set? So, maybe that's not it, but it certainly could be in that category.
That might be it.
Yeah.
I'll have to think about that.
No problem at all. And then again, going back to the, a lot of the iconic work that you have done on television, and Mad Men, and Friends, and some of the other shows. As actors, we get to do co-stars or guest star appearances. And when I was, coming up, and not that I'm anything accomplished as an actor, but when I was coming up and just kind of entering the industry, I just wanted to be on shows that I love. And put me on Billions. It's one of my favorite shows. I just want to be there. I don't care if it's a co-star. I just want to be in that world. And to as an actor, as obviously you want to make a career, but just getting onto these places and being a part of that world is really interesting experience. Was there any one of those shows that I've mentioned, and obviously you've done a lot more than that, that was kind of that for you of, I don't care, I just want to be in that show?
Well, the show that I am the most proud of and thrilled that I got to be on is Mad Men. I mean, I love that show. I think it's brilliant. Mm-hmm. I thought the acting was amazing, the writing was amazing, the concept was amazing. I got the part on Mad Men before it had aired. So I didn't know that I was gonna like it so much. So I just feel like that was just an incredible gift. Laura Schiff is the casting director, Laura Schiff and Carrie Audino. Mm-hmm. And they brought me in knowing that they wanted to establish this group of friends for Betty and I'm forgetting John Hamm's character's name. Oh, anyway, John Hamm.
Doesn't come to me. Yeah.
So they wanted a group of actors that would be willing to do a sort of smaller part in this beginning, but then come back. So it just was great. That's my. I mean, I don't know. There's so many things. I hate to play favorites. I mean, I'm grateful for everything I did. I really loved being on Greek. That was so fun. I mean, anytime that you get to do several episodes of something and develop a character, it's just a gift. It's a real gift, and I was lucky that I got to do that on Greek as well. So, yeah.
Did Mad Men start out as a guest star, or did you know that you were going to do? I think you did 3 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. Did they tell you you're going to do more than one?
They said that this would most likely, and they were. I mean, they were saying that because they were trying to get people to do, this part that wasn't, a big part. It was a smaller role, but they were trying to get good actors to do this because with the promise or with the. It wasn't a promise. It was with the hope that I would get to come back, and I did. So I'm happy.
Absolutely, yeah. And then I know, again, you're a writer and you're a director, and I know that at some point you kind of started writing for yourself. Did you start doing that because the industry kind of put you into a certain type, and you didn't feel like you were getting the roles that you wanted to play? Or was it there was just not enough of it? What was the impetus for your writing?
Yeah, the type was I'm a woman, and there just isn't as many roles. I think that's shifting, but that was what the impetus was, is, oh, I'm not going to get to do this very much or as much as I want to. So I want to do it more. And so I started to do stand-up because I could get up any night of the week on stage and tell a joke and have people laugh at me. And there is nothing better than that. Nothing. It's also, there's nothing more terrifying except for doing a striptease in front of a live audience. That's also extremely terrifying. So I've done these two things that scare the crap out of me, and now I feel like I can take on the world. But yeah, so that was why I started to do stand-up, and then my stand-up was never like, it was never boom, boom, you know, like I wasn't, it was more cerebral and more, you know, I definitely got laughs, but it was like talking about life and thoughtful things. So it naturally progressed into this one-woman show that became about being single in LA and finding pole dancing and finding myself through that movement, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I've heard you talk about it before, and that again, the whole idea of pole dancing and striptease is not really to do it for a man; it's to do it for yourself. It's to you know, realize how powerful and beautiful you are as a human being and as a woman. So was that part, you know, aside from the writing and the shows and everything else, you know, how did you get to that alone, where you figured out that this is something that I needed to do in order to fall in love with myself or in order to grow as a woman?
So when I was young, I saw a documentary about a family, and the parents in the family were developmentally disabled, and the children were normal. And I know you're like, how does this relate to pole dancing? So that is a common occurrence. Developmental disabilities are not hereditary. They're usually caused by complication in the birth. So that's often what happens, is that a developmentally disabled couple or woman will have a normal intelligence IQ child. The thing that was so interesting about this documentary was that the children were very behind their most kids their age, because they weren't being read to, they weren't being asked inciting questions, that their parents just didn't have that capacity. But at the same time, they were also super and eerily advanced for their age, because they were so much more capable than their parents were. So they were taking on very adult tasks at a very young age, and that fascinated me. When I moved to LA, I decided I wanted to learn how to write screenplays so I could write myself something. And I remembered back to this documentary, and I decided I was going to write a story about a woman who's the daughter of a developmentally disabled woman. And it would be, I thought in my head it was going to be this sweet family drama where, like, maybe coming of age, she, like, you know, been taking care of her parents but has to go off into the world. But when I did the research about this, I discovered that children of developmentally disabled parents are more likely to work in the sex industry because they're never taught the boundaries around their sexuality. Now, I think that this might have shifted since I wrote this script, because there's a lot of systems in place to protect those children now that there didn't used to be. But that became, so then my story became about a stripper. And I decided I needed to learn how to pole dance in order to play this part. And at the time, and still now, Sheila Kelley had started. Sheila Kelley is married to Richard Schiff. She's also an actress. She had done a movie called Dancing at the Blue Iguana, where she played a stripper and she taught herself to pole dance. And then all of her famous friends, Allison Janney, Amy Peets, all these people wanted to learn how to do it. So she started teaching it in her guest house at her house, which is where I started, is in her backyard. So yeah, so I was learning that movement to play this part, but it completely changed my life and me. And I felt like I found myself. It was great. Growing up in Michigan, you know, things are a little conservative and a little prudy. And I was always, you know, I was encouraged to cover myself and, you know, not be sexy. And I think there's a part of me that really wants to be sexy. Someday I'll be sexy.
It's,
You don't have to comment.
I think it's again. I'll come back. I'll come back to what you were saying in a second. But in terms of Midwest, I always find it fascinating that because we have such a short summer. I'm in Chicago, so you're going from summer to almost winter very quickly. You have people in bikinis for about 3 months period, and everybody thinks it's absolutely fine because it is. And then as soon as it happens, if you're wearing something that's skimpier and everybody already is back into their kind of warmer dress, they're looking at you funny. And I always want to ask them, just a week ago when it was 80 degrees outside, all of us were wearing much less. Why is this a problem for you now? I don't know. It's kind of a mental thing that it's okay and this is not okay. We kind of put things in buckets and don't know how to work between them. But
yeah,
the know thyself, right? As an actor and as a human being, the discovery of who we really are, what is it about ourselves, and uncovering the areas that we don't want to dive into and really actually discovering them allows us to not only have access to all of our emotional selves, but to really become a better and a stronger human being. So the fact that you did that and you overcame, I'm sure certain notions, I think is very empowering. And having done that, knowing that in your one woman show at the very end, you're doing a striptease, I think that's a very empowering part, and it shows just how far you've come in your growth and self-love. I think that's a very, very important part to hold on to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. By the way, Richard Schiff is one of my favorite actors. West Wing is my favorite drama all times. So I've had a couple of people from West Wing on. I haven't talked to the regulars yet, but it's a show that will always always have a piece of my heart.
That was a great show. It's such an important show. That's like, why I want to be an actor, that kind of show.
Yeah, and a lot of people went into politics after watching that show. I'm not sure where those people are right now, but that's a whole different conversation.
Right.
Yeah. So other few things that I want to talk to you about before I jump into the weirdest experience that you've ever had on set. When, in your one-woman show, you go from one character into another, and then you're playing men, you're playing women, you go into different dialects. That's not an easy thing to do as an actor. So have you found something that works well for you that allows you to adjust on the fly and kind of snap into what the person is, what the body is like, what the energy is like? Have you found something that works well that allows you to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all of those things. It's like a feeling. Mostly, I'm terrible. I'm not terrible. I'm not so great at accents. I'm working on another show, and that I'm gonna really need to work on the accent part of it. But yeah, like the body, the stance, the where the weight is in that character, what that character's thinking and doing, what that character sounds like. I mean, it's kind of a muscle memory, I think, bouncing back and forth. And even when I was playing myself, I played myself starting from a little girl from 3 years old to the present day. So there is a different buoyancy in my physicality too. So yeah, I think it's a feeling, physical feeling of that character.
Yeah. It's great. I applaud you for doing that, and certainly playing many characters in one play. It's not an easy thing to do at all. In terms of, we all kind of have identities, if you will, and from the art perspective, because you've done writing, you've done acting, you've done directing. I still feel bad that your high school teacher told you that you're not an actress, that you don't have any talent. Thank you for showing her wrong. What would you, as you're introducing yourself, and if you had to pick one of those, actor, director, writer, producer, obviously is another one, what would you say would be your 1A, if you will?
I mean, I know the business of acting. That is what I have done. So I know how to act, and I know how to, audition and get work, and I've done that. The directing and writing, I haven't been hired to do those things. I've hired myself to do those things. I hope that will change. I think that will change. I actually feel that I'm a better writer than I am actor. But life is full, and it's, there's certain steps you have to take to get to a point where you can be considered for a professional writing job. And I've focused on, acting, and it's not these are all huge undertakings. So like, it's hard I don't want to give up acting. I don't want to stop acting. But it takes a lot it takes more than full time, more than full life to pursue any of those other disciplines. So I got to figure that out. I have to figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah, I think all of us are in that same boat. The show is a full-time endeavor, and I'm trying to balance everything else. And now I actually started turning down some acting opportunities because they're not exactly the right thing at this point in my career. If I didn't have the show and some of my other commitments, I would have done them. But now I have to, make those choices. So I get it.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Okay, so going back to some of the, the fun questions of what's the most embarrassing or the weird thing that ever happened to you on set? Anything more embarrassing that meeting Adam Sandler part?
I can't think of anything super embarrassing.
Doesn't have to be embarrassing.
I mean, something that happened. I got this script. I got a script to audition for, and it was a weird audition because the script was going to be a silent movie. So I wasn't. There were no lines, and I was sitting in bed, and my husband came home. He's not my husband anymore, but he came home and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm reading the script. It's silent." And he was silent and I was silent. And then a couple minutes later, we both laughed and thought, like, yeah, that film will play at some obscure festival in Wisconsin and never, you know what I mean? Like this is where I'm at. I'm auditioning for such an indie project. It's a silent black and white film. But on the way, so I ended up getting the part, and on the way to work, I got a text from the casting director, Heidi Levitt, who is prolific and she's amazing. She said, "I'm so excited you're gonna get to work with John Goodman today." John Goodman in this teeny little silent movie? Wow, that's kind of cool. And I got to the set, and John Goodman was there, Missy Pyle was there, like all these incredible people. And so that film turned out to be The Artist. And it's a good thing, I wasn't producing it, because I wouldn't have ever seen it be, Oscar-winning, Golden Globe, So that was a really shocking thing for me to suddenly find myself part of, like, this little movie I did is it's gonna open Cannes. That's what's gonna happen. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I saw it. It's been a little while. I'll have to revisit it again. Yeah, that's very cool. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Which actually leads into the next question of, and you've worked with incredible actors in film and TV. But from a pure acting perspective, is there one that kind of just stood out or blew you away of saying, oh, okay?
Like an actor who blew me
Yeah.
away? Well,
From
the first thing that comes to my mind is Martin Donovan in Amateur, which was the first movie I did. I had an audition with the casting director. They invited me to come to the callback, which is where I was going to meet Hal. And there was an actor there who was going to read with me. And I was still pretty new. Like, that was my first job. And in my experience, the actors that were sitting there reading were actors that wanted to learn how to audition better. You know, I just thought he was like some schlep actor. So I came in and I think because I was auditioning to play a boy, I just felt really sassy and like badass. And I said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And you please do not start until I'm ready. You'll know, I will nod. I'm not going to use my script. Can someone please be on the book? Because I don't want to call a line if I don't want to have this in my hand, whatever. I was just like, blah, blah, blah. And the casting director said, it was Suzanne Smith. She said, is the lighting okay for you, Adria? She was just making fun of how I was like bossing everybody around. I was like, yeah, okay. So we read the scene. And this guy, this schlep, had it memorized and he rocked it with me. We rocked this scene and we did it another time and we rocked it again. And I thought, wow, that guy is good. I'm probably not going to get this, but that guy's a good actor. And I walked out. I got the part and then I realized that was Martin Donovan reading with me, that schlep actor. That's why he had it memorized, because he's going to play the part. That's how.
It was a chemistry read as well.
That I went to an audition and read with Martin Donovan and didn't know who he was.
Yeah, you didn't know you were going to be doing a chemistry read, right? Thankfully, they didn't tell you. You wouldn't have been as sassy as you at that time. That's very cool. All right, last question for you.
Okay.
You had a chance to go back to, right around that time as you were starting out in acting and tell yourself one bit of acting advice from your vantage point right now, what would that be?
Do everything, don't say no. At the beginning of my career, my parents were very obsessed about the fact that I had, invested a lot in my education, and they wanted to know, they wanted me to make money. And when you're first starting out as an actor, and even now, the best things you're ever going to do are going to be for free. That's the way it is. And the things that are not the most fulfilling artfully are probably going to be the things that you make the most money on. And that's just the way it is. At least that's been my experience. So there is a few things at the beginning of my career that I didn't do because they weren't going to pay me. And I was working at a restaurant to pay my bills, and that would have conflicted. But now, I know you have to figure that out. Like you have a waitress job so that you can be an actor. That waitress job should never ever impede that. It should only, if it's preventing you from acting, then you gotta quit. You gotta do something else. I don't know what it is, but you can't do it. You gotta act. Take it all. Do it all.
Okay, that's perfect, and that I think gives me the name of this segment. So thank you for that too.
Okay.
Thank you, Adria. I really appreciate it. Best of luck with the show. I will watch the remaining 4 episodes for me. Again, please everybody go and click on it and do yourself a favor. It's a fun show. I hope there's yeah, right there. Yeah, right there. All right. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your generosity.
Oh, of course. And go Michigan. All right, and thanks to everybody for tuning in to another episode of The Love of Acting. We know you love it as much as we do, and this is why we do that for you. Thank you.